All right, are we ready?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. Good morning, everyone. My name is Blake Stave. I'm the Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator for the City of Alexandria. Today we are going to take a look at what is called the Emergency Response Guidebook. Are any of you familiar or have you used it in your jobs?
Yes.
All right, well, I was hoping no one had, so it'd be a little more entertaining, but this will be a review for you people and the people who haven't. Hopefully you'll learn something, but hopefully we all will today. And also, this guidebook is relatively new to me. I've been looking at it for a while now, but if anyone has any pointers or wants to bring something up neat that they know about it, please feel free to do that. That will be for everyone's benefit. Yes, I was going to say, I was being honest about the Paul Bunyan comment yesterday, and I am so ready for this thing to be gone on Sunday. It's just getting itchy. Yeah. All right, so quick safety briefing here. There are 2 doors in the back. If anything was to happen, please use those to exit, follow the instructor, and we will get out of here safely. Also, just be aware of a couple of obstructions around tables, a couple cords up here. Later we'll be doing a little bit of a tabletop exercise, so we'll be moving over there. So just be mindful of these things, please, cords, and remember your computers are attached. All right, so let's get started. As right away at the beginning, I'm going to give you guys kind of a brief overview of the ERG, so that we can kind of all get on the same page with it, and then we'll jump into that exercise. So for those of you who don't know, the ERG, or the Emergency Response Guide, I'm going to refer to it from now on as the ERG there, and you're going to see that throughout the presentation, rather than writing it all out. But that was developed by the Department of Transportation, and it is for responders who come up on a situation on the highway, or predominantly it's for roadways, things of that nature. And as you've all seen on the side of semis, tankers, and I guess also on the railroads, you see things like this. And for a long time, I didn't know what those were specifically for. I'd see them once in a while, and you'd see kind of the 4-part triangle. Some of them would be turned over, some of them wouldn't. But what that is for is to identify for first responders what was located within that big semi. Because as you know, you're driving by a big semi, it's just a giant white truck. You don't really know what's in there. And lots of times, if they are transporting what could become flammable or dangerous materials, they don't really want to put that giant sign on the side of a huge semi as it's driving down a public road. Then lots of people seem to get nervous for no reason. So they'll put these little placards on the side, just in case anything was to happen, so that first responders know what they're coming up to. So, like I said with the objectives, what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of discuss what the practical uses of the ERG are, and then we're going to get into a tabletop exercise, and I'm going to hand out ERGs to everyone, and we're kind of going to go through how we would use them if we were in the situation. All right. So, first of all, what is the ERG? Like I said, the Department of Transportation produced the ERG for first responders in managing and controlling hazardous material releases following a disruption on a roadway. The text is published every 4 years, so actually we are going to go through the 2012, but currently there is a 2016. I believe it's available. If not, it will be very soon. And what's important about that is we could be looking at the 2012, we could use the 2004, we could use the 2008. It doesn't really matter which one you use. It's not like the mercury changes, things like that change. But the really important thing to remember when you're at a scene is as long as all responders are advised and using the edition that the incident commander is using. Because pages, the length of it may change. So if incident commander says, I'm on page 312, somebody looks at 312 and they're looking at a completely different thing, that can be a problem. Also, through research and stuff, what is determined in, evacuation things, distances, may have changed a little bit. So it's just very important to be on the same page. So, like we discussed, it's designed to provide first responders guidelines to an initial action following a release of what could potentially be dangerous liquids, gases, and it is intended to provide assistance in the decision-making process. This is not it provides assistance. You don't start on page 1 and it'll tell you exactly what to do. Walk up, find out what it is, remove yourself. What it is it's guidelines so that you can quickly realize what you're coming up on once you've seen things like this. It's a very quick reference guide is what it is. And like we've discussed, although it's primarily for transportation incidents, the ERG can be really used for any hazards, any releases that you may come upon. So like we've talked about, you want to consult the ERG for several things. Initial isolation requirements will be a big one. And also they are going to decipher between what would be a large spill and a small spill. Like what we see here, this would be considered a pretty large spill. If all of that was released into the roadways, I don't know exactly how much, but I would imagine that's probably 10,000 gallons or so. Pretty good sized tanker. So that's going to be different than, let's say, just a barrel. You had one barrel on a truck, fell off the back of your tailgate into the ditch and broke open. That's going to be considered a rather small spill in comparison. Also, we're going to look at how the ERG helps you determine necessary evacuation distances. And very important, and we'll later go through these as well through a different presenter, necessary protective measures for first responders. Very important. A lot of times first responders are pretty well versed in what type of protective measures they need to take, but we don't know everything. They're kind of hear the term jack of all trades, master of none. That's a lot of times what first responders are. They know a lot about a wide variety, but they might not know the difference between what happens when a gas is flammable, or when a gas may become, or when a liquid may become a gas, and why in that change they need to change what protective measures they're taking. As for, with liquid, it might just be your hands, but when it comes to gas, in certain situations, then you need to worry about inhalation, things like that, and what protective measures you need to take for that. So, practical uses of the ERG. The Emergency Response Guidebook is organized into 5 separate components. And as you'll kind of see, well, I'll hand these out right now. They're color-coded. The pages are color-coded for very quick reference, which really helps people quickly determine what they're looking at and how to find a specific thing. So, as we see, the 4 color-boarded sections are yellow, blue, orange, and green. And those all have a very different part to them. So, let's say, you come up on something and the driver of the truck says, I don't know exactly what was in there, but this is my, what I was transporting, or they'll have like a bill of sale or something of that, and it'll say, what is it contained is of ID, say 1972. So with the yellow guide, you're able to find exactly, what you're looking at. If you know that the ID number of what was being transported is 1972. Well, that says, you go quickly to yellow, it says natural gas, refrigerated liquid, or cryogenic liquid. Okay, so then you know what you're looking at. Now, blue is a listing in alphabetical order. So let's say they knew what was being transported by name. Then you go directly to blue, and that'll tell you in chronological order, or alphabetical order, I'm sorry, exactly what you're looking at. So if you take a look at that, well first, also, before we jump into green, there's also the orange pages, which give you kind of a step-by-step, or I'm sorry, not a step-by-step, but an idea, reference guide of what kind of protective measures you may need to take at an incident regarding, if something is potentially explosive, or what you need to take for public safety, protective clothing issues. That's what the orange pages are going to give you. Now, finally, the green. As you saw throughout flipping through the blue pages, some of these are highlighted in green. Now, what that means is that those specific things, such as fluorine, I don't even know how to pronounce some of these, fluorosulfonic acid. Now, those become gases, or could potentially become gases, if they were, or in certain situations, and if they were released into the air. So, you look at the green pages to determine initial isolation and protective action distances that need to be taken. So, you come up on an incident, you determine that what was being transported is a gas. And of course, at most incidences, you're going to start to gain attention. People are going to start showing up. They want to know what's going on. And you need to protect life and safety. So you reference this, and let's say it's a small spill. It was just one drum. And this is going to tell you very quickly, right away, how do you need to isolate the location. That'll say that everyone needs to be, for this one is zinc dithionite. Never heard of it, but it exists. You need to make sure everyone is at least 30 meters or 100 feet away from that in every direction, no matter what. That needs to be taken, first and foremost. Then, most of the time this is predominantly going to be outside incidents rather than in a warehouse or things like that. So you're going to have wind direction, things that are going to affect how that is going. So then that will also provide you, once you first isolated the situation and got everyone back, well then you need to protect people that are downwind from an incident. And oddly, I suppose it's not a meteorologist, but there is a difference between day and night of how far you need to isolate those things. I suppose it has to do with barometric pressure and how heavy or light these gases are for how far they can travel. So as you can see, there's a difference, and that difference can be quite significant. So you need to keep that in mind. If it's a spill during the day, it's only 0.2 kilometers or 0.1 miles. Not very far, that you need to make sure people in the wind direction or downwind are removing themselves. But at night, it's 0.6 miles. And, for that one, it's not very much, but if you look at some of these other ones, 0.5 kilometers or 0.3 miles and 2.2 kilometers. Well, that's a significant difference between day and night. So you need to keep that in mind. And so as we've kind of discussed, this is just a quick reference guide for all of those things for a first responder. All right, so now we are going to take this, we all have one now, and we're going to put it into a practical use situation. So I need someone, Jim, I'm going to count on you to come up with a scenario of what may have just occurred, and we're all on a first response team. Anything.
Okay, well, the picture we see there is a tanker truck.
Yep.
The placard we can't really see real well.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do see is that it's red and white, not black and white. And
Yep.
the numbers on it are 1075.
Okay, great. Very good. All right, sounds good. Well, if everyone wants to come around the table here, that would be great. So let's kind of start with that one right there. What he said. So you come up on a situation, and you see that the placard says 1075. So you're not sure, you know, like I said, you're kind of a jack of all trades, but you cannot, if anyone at this table can tell me what ID number is 1075 by heart, I'll be pretty impressed.
Look, petrol,
LPG?
gas.
Did you know that?
Yes.
I am thoroughly impressed.
Yeah, well, it's a large industry throughout the community, so.
Oh, okay.
that we should know. You know.
Okay, yep.
Like 1072 is.
So you're
diesel.
cheating.
It's not really cheating, no.
No, I'm teasing.
Even the police officer knows that.
Right, okay. I would not have known that. So I would have taken out my reference guide. I come up on an incident and I see 1075, and I know that that is very significant, but I don't know what it is. So then I take out my reference guide. I find 1075 very quickly in these yellow pages because that's where they are numerically broken down. And then I immediately know that that is not going to, I see there's a lot of them. There's butane, there's butane mixture, there's butylene, there's isobutane mixture, but fortunately I see that none of those are in the green pages. They're not highlighted in green. So I know that, well, at this point, the situation could have been worse, and right now we're not dealing with a incident where there is a gas in the air that could potentially be dangerous. It is, I want to say, a liquid. Is that correct?
It is a liquid. You know, it boils at like 44 below zero, but you know, when it's out here, if you turn around and look at your right picture,
Yep.
You can see the water on the ground.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is. It's a vapor.
Okay. Sounds good. So then,
So you will see a cloud.
yep, you will see a cloud. And one thing, you know, as we look at these pictures, for example, what are all these people wearing?
PPEs.
Yep, PPEs, very good. And so we know from the picture, which is kind of cheating, that you should most likely be wearing some type of protective gear. All right, so then you don't know exactly what you're looking at, but you have now determined that that is a liquid. So then you can turn to your orange pages, and that will show you find where liquids are.
115 is the guide number.
115.
And I didn't know that. I just cheated yesterday.
That's good. So your guide number is 115. So you go to your orange pages of 115, and you see gases that are flammable, including refrigerated liquids. So that's very important to remember that flammable issue. So you want to be careful with that. But then, as you can see throughout this is going to provide you, you know, everything from the potential hazards of fire and explosion. So you can take a look at those and figure out what exactly you need to do. Your health, as he said, vapors may cause dizziness or asphyxiation without warning. Very important to make sure that you are prepared for that. You get all the people out from around there and you're wearing the proper protective equipment to deal with that. And then, you know, let's say you're a police officer that shows up on the scene, you're going to want to look at that public safety issue initially. You know, evacuation, that's going to show what you would do for a large spill. If there's a fire, the proper protective clothing that individuals need to be wearing who are then going to be dealing with the cleanup, and things like that. So I'm going to pass out, I've got a list here, and we're just going to kind of go through one by one and kind of answer these questions. And that will help us kind of familiarize ourselves with how to use this guidebook. At this point, you know, does anyone have any questions that they want to ask or any input? Like I said, anything, has anyone been in a situation where they've used this?
Yes.
Great. Anybody want to share?
There's not a whole lot to share on this. I do have a question, you know,
Yep.
for you. Looking at your top slide,
Yep.
you see the tractor, the trailer, or the tractor of the vehicle is off to the right. It appears to be upside down, and the cabinet's upside down on top of the chassis.
Uh-huh.
It's a pretty significant accident.
Yep.
The driver likely did not survive.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that'd be a fair assumption.
Yep.
The driver, obviously gone. is that knows likely knows what he's hauling.
Right.
Since he's not there,
Mhm.
where are we gonna find his bill of lading?
Well, so that would be a little bit trickier. As you said, you know, the cab is pretty well destroyed. But you know, my first instinct to at least get a general idea of what we're looking at, you're going to kind of see this placard right here.
Right.
Now we can't identify, you know, from this distance what that is, but we can tell that it's red. So we know these are all standardized. You're not going to see a, you know, corrosive that's in red typing like this. We know that red signifies flammable gas. So we can start with that basic assumption, and we can at least go to our orange pages and know what we need to do in a situation where flammable gas is present. From there, you know, can't quite see it. There might be some more numbers under there that might hopefully give us a better idea. You know, we kind of just have to go
Really, all you
through.
need to know.
Yeah.
Basically at that point.
And kind of go through the checklist of what we've seen and what we can decipher. We know that it's a tanker. It's probably carrying either a liquid or a gas rather than, let's say, just standard 18-wheeler box, which might be carrying more of a right. So if we are just completely blind going into this situation, we just need to use our clues. We'd start with that. And then we just kind of use a history of what we've seen in the past, what our training taught us, of what we're seeing on the ground. If it's emitting a vapor, like over here, then things we need to think about, like that type of protective equipment, rather than it does not appear he's wearing that. He's just got the boots on. So things like that. So really it's just a process of removing knowns and unknowns. And sometimes you just have to do the best you can until someone else who may show up on the scene knows more than you do. Anyone else want to share an experience where they've went into a situation and had to use something like this? Evan, got one?
Actually, my municipal building, my township cops, right below where our new building is, had someone drop off liquids in a nice sized paint can, one of those metal paint cans. I wanted to get rid of it, didn't know how to, and the township said, well, we have nothing here to get rid of it, and why don't you just put it over there? And the party ended up putting it by their AC unit during the summer. Not knowing any placards, anything inside of it. About a half hour later, everyone inside the building started getting busy, including cops. Long story short, they called the township cops, called us out, and the hazmat team, and the state police, and they all came out, evacuated all of them, checked, did a medical eval, and the hazmat team came out and they suited up in a level B because they didn't know what it was, and their tests were inconclusive, so they ended up taking it and transporting it for further eval.
Oh, okay.
They ended up trying to find video of who that was, that they could track it back to
What was this?
What was this? I haven't heard much more back about it.
Okay.
Those kinds of incidences can really scare you. Because it could have not been, life-threatening, but
Right.
sometimes you don't know what's in there, and people just like to drop off that kind of stuff. And
Right.
That's not something you just want to do.
Yeah.
So,
Right. No, glad that turned out better than it could have. So, shoot, I guess I sent one of those down there. I'll take one of those sheets down there if I could. So let's just take let's take a look at a couple of these. Let's start with you, Evan. So if you saw that you were looking at fluorobenzene, what color would you know to quickly reference? Would it be yellow, blue, orange, or green? If you knew the name of it.
If I knew the name of it. The only name, I would probably use the yellow guide to find out where exactly I would go.
So the yellow one would be,
Numerical.
is a little bit easier to use it numerically. Blue would be if we knew if we knew the name there, then we could quickly look for alphabetically. So then we would just look at fluorobenzene. A, B, C, D, E, F.
3.
Fluorobenzene. Okay, so then we know that our guide number is 130. So we'll know where to turn in the orange section, so we know what protective measures to take. And then our ID number, which is slightly less significant now that we know what the name of it is listed there as well. But yep, that would be for fluorobenzene. Virginia, so we came up on a scene and we see in there that the ID number for what is being transported is 2809. How would we locate that?
We probably go to the yellow pages because it's numerical.
All right.
And we would look it up, and then doing that, the 2809, that is mercury.
Sounds good. Mercury, it's not listed in the green. It's not highlighted in green, so that's a good thing. And then it says the guide number is 172. So let's take a look at guide number 172. And so then that kind of gives us an idea of what response measures we want to take, or what protective measures we want to take regarding mercury.